EZ Sports. It's in the shame.
She's not a fucking artist. I don't care about her fucking opinion because she has no accomplishments in art or has proven to me that she's actually intellectual enough to understand art. I accept my criticism from talented, smart people, not abusive, toxic, exploitative bullies on YouTube.
Dumb moments in YouTube history. Gabbie Hanna is the female Onision, and the reason we say this is because she has been embroiled in so many scandals and controversies and has feuded with so many YouTubers over the years that you could write an entire book about it. It would honestly be harder to write about the YouTubers that she hasn't feuded with, because she has a tendency to fly off the handles and lash out whenever she feels someone has wronged her. Gabbie's biggest character flaw is the fact that she can never admit when she's wrong about something. She always portrays herself as the victim in every situation, even when she is clearly in the wrong, and she completely lacks the self-awareness to realize that she is the villain of her own story. In this video, we are going to be talking about her notorious feud with British poetry critic Rachel Oates, so strap yourself in and grab some popcorn and a nice cold frappuccino, because we are going to tell the story of the time Gabbie Hanna went on a crusade against a poetry critic. It all began on December 16th, 2019, when Rachel published the first part of her review on Gabbie's first poetry book, Adultolescence. Rachel made a very eloquent and articulate review about Adultolescence, where she made it abundantly clear that she did not like the book at all. As a matter of fact, she disliked the book so much that she made multiple videos analyzing the various poems in the book and gave very detailed reasoning as to why they didn't work. The reason why we mention this is because her review of Adultolescence played a direct role in the story of this video, because a year later, Gabbie would send Rachel a copy of her second poetry book, Dandelion. Gabbie sent Rachel a copy of Dandelion because she wanted it in the hands of people that actually love poetry. The review in question was posted on October 26, 2020, and given the fact that we are making this video about Gabbie going on a crusade against a poetry critic, it shouldn't be a surprise when we tell you that Rachel did not like Dandelion at all. She even went as far to say that most of the poems in the book were worse than Adultolescence, and like her previous videos on Gabbie's work, she was extremely critical, but was also incredibly tactful, because she criticized the content of Gabbie's book instead of insulting her on a personal level. It was a very fair review, and if you don't believe us, here's a short snippet from the review in question.
Look at a couple of examples, and one of the big kind of repetitive things that's in this book, that's in several poems, is the idea of her crying in public, or more specifically crying in her car. That's repeated throughout, and it's so exhausting that it literally makes me want to go out and buy a car just so I can have a cry in it over this book. The earliest one is titled Money, and it reads, "If I had $1 for every time a stranger saw me cry in public, I still couldn't buy happiness." And then it contains a doodle of some money. This to me is not a poem, it's just like a generic Tumblr post or a Tumblr joke with a few line breaks thrown in and nothing more. Even the illustrations here are a bit of a letdown because they're not exactly realistic notes, they're very cartoony, which means she could have done a hell of a lot with them. There was a lot of potential there, and I wish she'd done something a little more creative. For example, she could have drawn on the cash images of things that she was upset about or that made her cry, you know? As for the content of the poem itself, I would analyse it further, but there's not anything to analyse. There's legitimately nothing there to pick apart or look at. No poetic techniques, no real structure or rhythm or anything of any substance. It's a tweet or a Tumblr post or an Instagram caption. It's not a poem. Moving on, and one of the last poems in the book to reference crying in public / cars is a poem called Pit. They told me I'd never use my education, but thanks to Professor Brownell, I know the reason my eyes water at the sound of my car door unlocking is I've cried in my car so many times that my Toyota Corolla has become a conditioned stimulus, which evokes the conditioned response of me wanting to die every time I hear that stupid fucking beep, just like the dogs who salivate at the sound of a bell, and I acquired all this knowledge at the low cost of around $136,000.
Shortly after the review was published, Rachel posted a pinned comment where she claimed that Gabby had gone to their mutual friend, Jimmy Snow, in an attempt to get Rachel to not post any more reviews of her work. She later clarified what she had said to make it clear that this had occurred before the review was published. The day after that, Jimmy Snow took to Twitter to clarify his involvement in Rachel and Gabby's feud, and that he had gone to Rachel on his own volition to inform her about how Gabby might feel about her review. In the screen cap of the DM he had posted on Twitter, he had made it very clear that he didn't try to talk her out of making the review, but did inform her that the human on the other side experiences severe negativity because of it. He ended the message by saying that Gabby was messed up in anticipation of what she believed was going to be another negative review about her book, which may or may not have been in reference to a tweet Rachel had posted where she made it abundantly clear that she thought the book was awful. Rachel sent some DMs to Jimmy where she claimed that she felt guilted into giving the book a positive review, and that Gabby knew she was a poetry critic, and that she sent the book to Rachel knowing full well she was going to review it. She also said that if Gabby didn't want people critiquing her poetry, then she should stop selling overpriced, awful poetry. Rachel posted a message where she hurled out some drunken word vomit and drunkenly detailed her thought process in regards to her review of Dandelion and everything else that happened as a result of it. Not long after this, Rachel ended up deactivating her Twitter account altogether. You probably think that this story is over and that we should just end the video right now. To be honest with you, if this feud had ended right then and there, we wouldn't be making this video. But unfortunately, our story doesn't end here, because 6 months later, Gabby reignited this feud by going on the biggest crusade over a negative book review we have ever seen. On April 19th, 2021, Gabby started attacking Rachel for no reason. She started her crusade by attacking Rachel in a series of tweets, one of which included Gabby accusing Rachel of narcissistically abusing her for the numerous critiques she had made about her published work. Because as we all know, criticizing a book that a published author put out into the world and is charging people actual money to buy totally classifies as narcissistic abuse and harassment. She didn't just limit her crusade to Twitter either. She decided to attack Rachel through Instagram stories, and she did not hold back when it came to eviscerating Rachel for her relentless harassment and narcissistic abuse.
Rachel is trying to deny the reason she deleted Twitter, so I actually want to let you know what happened. So we have a mutual friend who messaged her outside of me. I literally did not talk to him at all. He saw that she was doing, and he messaged her, and he said, have some fucking compassion. You've been the center of hate campaigns online. Leave this girl alone. Like, you're just bullying. And then she started a Twitter campaign trying to say that I manipulated her friend into defending me. That's how narcissistic and abusive this person is, and how much she cannot accept any type of criticism, which is hilarious because she really thinks that I can't accept criticism, when the first time her friend confronted her about her shitty toxic behavior, she blamed me, the permanent scapegoat of the fucking internet, and then stopped talking to her friend. Face yourself, bitch. Like, that's crazy to me. And you know why she hasn't critiqued my work in months? Because the last couple times she did it, she started getting overwhelming hate from people both on the internet and in her real life. Because people started to see through it. They were like, why are you still going at this girl? Like, relentlessly. She can't fucking stop. And it's because when she talks about me, she gets hundreds of thousands to millions of views. And then she posts a little makeup get ready with me and gets 4,000. That's why she cares about my art. She's not a fucking artist. I don't care about her fucking opinion, because she has no accomplishments in art or has proven to me that she's actually intellectual enough to understand art. I accept my criticism from talented, smart people, not abusive, toxic, exploitative bullies on YouTube. Hey, Rachel, instead of hopping in my DMs trying to bully and gaslight me from your own abuse, you could just apologize. I know that if I did anything like this, I would be called manipulative, sociopathic, narcissistic, attention hungry, money hungry, but that is what you are. What you did was bully and harass me for months, and then when you got called out of it, got super defensive. Like, you literally just ran away and blocked me instead of looking at your own criticism. You can't take criticism towards yourself at all. I've still never blocked you after all of the harassment, but you can't stand even the tiniest ounce of criticism. You're a fucking monster. You're a bitch. Narcissistic abuse is when somebody hurts you over and over and over again over a prolonged period of time, and then whenever you finally stand up for yourself, they say you're having a breakdown. Where the real narcissism comes in is she says I'm talking about her for attention. You mean Miss 4K views on your fucking makeup tutorial? Miss 4K views on your commentary piece a week ago? Yeah, I just went and checked. I'm talking about you for attention. You talk about me, you get millions. I talk about you, I get still millions, but not because of you. The fact that she said attention-seeking games as if I've ever responded to her before. This is my first time responding to Rachel Oates. So what are my games? Is this a game, or am I just standing up for myself against the people who harassed, exploited, and profited off of me for almost a year? What is it, you manipulative, narcissistic bitch? Problem is, and this is where narcissistic abuse happens, is people think that they can say whatever they want about me and that I can't respond. I'm allowed to respond when I want. It took me a long time to heal and get better because there were mountains of hate happening to me from all directions at all times, and I couldn't go up against all of it. But right now, this morning, as people are tweeting about this shit, and it made me think about it, and it made me want to defend myself, I'm gonna defend myself. And you don't get to tell me I'm starting drama for finally responding to the months, the multiple videos, the millions of views, the tweets, the Instagram posts, the fact that you made a book mocking me. You fucking weird ass bitch, you published a book mocking me. I've said everything I want to say unless she opens her fucking mouth and says something else, because I just want to let everyone know I don't give a fuck anymore about pretty much anything. I mean, I clearly give a fuck. What I mean is I don't give a fuck what people think about me. So I'm going to start speaking my mind and saying what the fuck I want to say. And when I see harassment, bullying, and abuse, I'm going to stand up for myself the same way I stand up for everybody else. I'm done accepting behavior for myself that I would not accept for my friends. So unless she opens her fucking mouth again, I think I've said my piece. For now. I guess we'll see. But, watch her turn this into a video series. If drama means finally having the strength to stand up against people who have harassed, mocked, exploited, and bullied you for years, yeah, I'm a fucking drama queen. I love the drama. Actually, Rachel Oates, I'm actually not responding out of nowhere. I'm responding because you have 8 to 10 videos about me on your channel. You published a book mocking me. You tried to cause drama between my actual friend and I. You went on Twitter accusing me of manipulating your friend into standing up against you. What else? Instagram posts, tweets. You're a manipulative bitch, and I'm done dealing with it. Now, I was waiting for you to slow down so I could respond to everything at once when I was mentally strong. That doesn't mean I am having a breakdown. That actually means I'm finally healthy. You fucking sick, twisted bitch. Said I was done opening my mouth as long as she shut her fucking mouth, and she can't, which is funny because she doesn't want me to respond, and she literally can't help herself from responding even though she's wrong. Anyways, for those of you who don't know, basically what happened was I published a book that was about sexual abuse, childhood trauma, suicidal ideation, mental illness, mortality, amongst other things. It came out, it did great, it was a New York Times bestseller. It sold consistently $40,000 gross every single month for years. And then it was just doing really well. And then as soon as it was trendy to hate me because some person started some random fucking lies about me that nobody cared to look into because I didn't defend myself, then she started a hate campaign about my poetry book because it's so current, right?
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
Why would Gabby go out of her way to start a feud with a poetry critic over a negative review that was published 6 months prior to her tirade? We believe that we have the answer for this very important question, and it begins with the letter A, and that word is attention. Before Gabby went on her crusade against Rachel, she hadn't posted a new video in over 4 months, and then a month later, she posted a cover of the Alanis Morissette song You Wanna Know, and then in rapid succession she has posted multiple videos where she has rehashed feuds with YouTubers such as Trisha Paytas, Angelica Oles, Jessie Smiles, and Rice Gum, to name a few. The point we are trying to make here is that the timing of these recent videos in relation to her cruel and unnecessary crusade against Rachel is not only far too convenient, it's also oddly calculated. Then again, when you realize that Gabby completely lacks the self-awareness to realize that she is a horrible person and is completely fine with her fans mass flagging Rachel's Instagram account, which resulted in the account being temporarily suspended, is it really surprising that Gabby would go out of her way to relentlessly attack Rachel for the sole purpose of keeping her name relevant so she could release these numerous projects where she rehashes feuds that she has had with other YouTubers in the past? The sad part about all of this is the fact that none of Gabby's recent videos have gotten over 1 million views. As a matter of fact, the last time one of her videos got over 1 million views was 9 months ago, which is honestly pretty sad for a channel that has over 5.6 million subscribers. Gabby's blatant attempts to manufacture pointless drama has worked about as well as the Toronto Maple Leafs Stanley Cup ambitions. She is the YouTube equivalent of Trish Walker, and we say this because she is a terrible person that believes she is doing the right thing when in reality she is the monster that's been here all along. Throughout this entire ordeal, Gabby has gone out of her way to proclaim that Rachel's critical review of Dandelion was part of a concerted effort to start a hate campaign against her. We are going to play a short snippet from her review of Dandelion, and you can decide for yourselves whether or not Rachel is a narcissistic abuser and is the kind of person that would start a hate campaign against someone.
Maybe you can't stop world hunger. Maybe you can't stop senseless violence. But you can stop loneliness. Maybe you can't offer food and water. Maybe you can't offer solutions. But you can offer your time. Maybe you can't change the past. Maybe you can't change the world. But you can change. You can keep your fake care. You can keep your thoughts and prayers. But you can give someone your heart. Maybe you can't be a hero, maybe you can't be a saviour, but you can be a friend. So my first reaction to this poem was how it just sounds more like a cringy Instagram caption than a poem, but that's par for the course at this point, so why am I even saying it again? I don't know why I was shocked. But what I want to talk about here is the structure of the poem, so let's take a look at that. It's a simple structure, but when something like this is used in the right way, it can be very, very powerful and effective. I'm going to start by stating the obvious here, but there is a point to it, okay? So this poem's basic form is 5 repetitions of 2 lines and then 1 line. It's also important to note that the 2-line stanzas both start with the same phrase, which here is called anaphora. In stanzas 1, 2, 3, and 5, this repeated phrase is maybe you can't. The separate 1 line then offers a counterpoint to whatever the 2-line part was. It's simple but effective, you know? Maybe you can't do this, but you can do this. And with this structure, it works, it's good, it could be powerful, it has potential. However, usually with a poem like this, to be effective, you need some kind of hard-hitting last stanza. It can't just fizzle out like this one does. You either need that last stanza to summarize or to hammer home your message in some way, or subvert expectations, or just do something a little different. When you've got a lot of repetition going on like this, and that repetition is useful to highlight how important something you're saying is, but when you've got a lot of repetition like that and a lot of the same thing happening, a break in the structure, a subversion of expectations, doing something a little bit different can be really, really powerful and really important. And as well as getting your message across, so the reader doesn't get bored. What's odd about this poem is that Gabby does have a break in structure, but it comes in the 4th stanza, not the final one. So in the 4th stanza, she changes maybe you can't do X to you can keep your Y, and then she sticks with that, but you can blah 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 in the 3rd line. So it's not a full change in structure, just like a half change in structure, which kind of undermines the change at all and any impact it was going to have. It's odd. And also the way it's included in that 4th stanza instead of the 5th, without any real reason, kind of suggests to me that instead of changing it for a reason, Gabby just threw that fourth stanza in there because she struggled to come up with another way of wording, maybe you can't, blah, blah, blah. So she just stuck that in the middle and hoped no one questioned it. It doesn't feel intentional. The way it reverts back to that original structure in the final stanza, just like nothing happened, also kind of confirms this to me, and it kind of suggests to me that when Gabby was writing this, she didn't really put that much thought into how her poem's form would convey her message. She thought, this is my message, I'm going to use this form, but she didn't really think about how they were going to be used together and how the form itself could be a part of conveying that message. If you're going to use a structure where your stanzas are like same, 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 different, same, I want it to have a purpose. So for this poem, for example, it might have been cool to have a series of 3 rhyming couplets with the maybe you can't message, and then the 4th stanza, a rhyming couplet of but maybe you can, and then stanza 5 reverting back to but maybe you can't, because it's showing how even when you have good intentions and an idea of what you can do to make the world a better place, it's still hard to have any kind of impactful change. And some things just end up staying the same, and that's an inevitable thing that you kind of have to deal with and get on with in the world. So in that case, you know, the form and the structure would be conveying the same message as the content of the poem and adding to that message, and that's a very, very important thing in poetry. That's what I'd like to see. In poetry, how you say things is just as important, if not more important in some poems, than what you're actually saying, than the words, the content, you know? And that's a huge thing that Gabby consistently misses, and that is really, really disappointing.